y'all have a good day, good show.
All right, brother. We got one more guest coming on. Stay with us, and we'll be closing this thing out here in about 30.
All right, we'll see.
Hey, Blake.
I didn't say that right.
Mr. Blake Shelton. And he's not the singer.
That's the great guy right there.
Yeah, but he's not a singer, is he? He's not the real Blake Shelton.
He's Blake Shelton. That's Blake.
He's not a small guy.
I'm talking about the one that sings.
Well, I was going to pull the one up here that sings.
Dates Carrie Underwood, don't he?
No. He was married to the other Blake Shelton was married to that.
Miranda Lambert.
Yeah, Lambert. Miranda Lambert. And
we got Joy Meyer going to be on the show here in just a little bit.
They're divorced now.
Guys, ain't no Mr. Tony Stewart not coming back.
Tony will be back this coming year, but not
17. He won't.
17.
Oh, okay.
He's going to do what the Gordon did.
I hate to see old Tony leaving away. But you know, have you noticed he's been kind of quiet? You don't ever hear nothing about him.
Wouldn't you be?
Yeah.
He's going to be quiet because his racing's not been there.
Yeah.
Has it, girl? That's what.
Clint Bowyer's going to take that car over in 17.
Oh, Clint's a good old boy.
I like Clint. Clint's a good guy. I
think Martin Truex is too.
Martin, only thing that hurts him, I think, if he had multiple cars, I think they would probably be a little bit better.
I think he started out driving for Junebug, didn't he?
Yeah. But I think he'd be a whole lot better if he had another car or have more sponsorship than what he's got. Because he's a fantastic driver. I don't have a problem with him. I wish he did. You know, if you put him in a car like Gordon's car or one of the Hendricks cars, he'd probably be running up front every week.
Well, we'll be rooting for old Chase Elliott.
That'd be mine. That's who I'll be rooting for next year. All until he gets done. So I'm just kind of, I know he ain't going to be top notch, you know, probably the first couple of years. But he'll get there.
Yeah.
All right, Big G, we got Joey on the line here.
Hello, Joey.
Well, not yet.
Well, you ain't on there.
We're getting there.
We're there now. How you doing, Joey?
Man, welcome. How you doing, man?
Good. This is number 2 spotter here.
Hello, number 2.
That's the way I like to call you, number 2 spotter.
All right. Well, that works out.
But we'll call you Joey. You been doing any flying lately?
Yeah, actually, had a couple of days off here at the house. We're getting ready to leave in the morning. We're going to go out west for the Sprint Cup banquet. We'll head out in the morning and come back late Friday night into Saturday morning. So got a couple, 2 or 3 days we'll be gone, and then we'll start it up next week as well. We've got a couple of appearances to go through around the house, around the state.
Yeah.
We'll end up over in Indy for the Performance Racing Industries show.
You're going to be busy.
Yeah. The off season's kind of a misnomer for the most part. The only thing different is we're not racing. That's what the off season means to us.
Yeah, I mean, you're still busy. You're just not racing.
That's about it. We just we work more Monday through Friday than we do Thursday through Sunday. But life keeps going, and we keep staying busy.
That's what pays the bills, ain't it?
Yeah, well, that's what it takes. You know, every 2 weeks we get reminded why we do it.
And then, Joy, I guess back at the shop, those guys are busy, whether they're off or not. Or do they get a little downtime now?
Well, there's a little bit of downtime, but not a large amount. You know, you get a little time for Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
You normally get a little time before Christmas to New Year's. But realistically, everything that you see on TV that gets done and ready for the racetrack, it starts right now. You know, guys are doing their pit boxes and their toolboxes and their generator carts, and you know, everything that we use at the racetrack gets taken apart in the off season, gets cleaned up, and possibly a paint color change if you have to, and new decals and things of that nature. So a lot of that happens in the off season, but these guys are also building brand new race cars for the new rules package next year with the low downforce, and it means a lot of engineers and guys are spending time in the 7-post getting new data for that. So we'll start ramping up here at the beginning of the year with some actual on-track tests. I believe NASCAR has a couple of those scheduled for us, but for the most part, they'll spend a lot of time in the 7-post test, just getting everything ready. So that includes taking all the cars apart and all the equipment and generators and things of that nature. So those guys are working, essentially 50 weeks of the year without a doubt.
Wow.
How many cars that you all got? I'm just talking about the number 2 cars. How many cars you all usually got in the shop that they have to work on?
Yeah, assuming we haven't tore up a lot of cars, we have anywhere from 17 to 20 readily prepared cars for the 2-car.
Wow.
Because of the way Team Penske is, we really don't have 2-car. We don't have a car dedicated to the 2 team, where the 2 and the 22 actually share cars. So at any given time, there's about 38 to 40 cars in the shop in some shape or form, dedicated to certain different tracks, like a speedway or a road course. But all the short track, intermediate, and speedway cars can all be intertwined together.
Wow.
You just wrap them, get one, wrap it, and go.
Well, we do. We'll actually we'll have a car that'll be done up in whatever color or combination with number, and then if the 2-car actually wants to use it as their primary or backup, for instance, it might be wrapped with the 2-car scheme, and then the same thing would happen with the 22. They've actually raced cars that have had the 2-car on them under a 22 wrap. So it makes it real nice if we ever have problems at the track or throughout the year, that the cars can swap back and forth pretty easily.
Now, when you just go to the track, more or less, if I'm understanding this right, you just really got 4 cars actually at the track. Say, for instance, I'm just going to say Joey wrecks both of his primary car and backup car. Can't get it fixed. Can you go get the backup car from the number 2 and wrap it and use it too?
Yes, absolutely. Years ago, and I wish I could remember the team, but there was actually a teammate that went through 2 of their primary cars and backup cars and had to use their teammates. But fortunately for Team Penske, that would be a real easy transition because all the cars are the same. Fortunately, we haven't had to execute that activity too often, but it is a potential that exists. And with the 2 and the 22 cars all being the same, it would alleviate a lot of the problems.
I know when I used to be at the track and working in the with the 4 team, I've seen where that a car, or they would wreck their primary car, or their primary car wouldn't get into the race. But what they would do is the car that got in the race, they would go and make a deal with the other car where their driver could drive that car and take the other driver out. That, might not be a known driver,
Yeah, that still happens occasionally in the Xfinity series, to get their team or sponsor in the race.
Right.
It doesn't happen too much more in the Sprint Cup series anymore.
Oh, okay.
But it still occasionally happens in the Xfinity and even in the Truck series. If for instance, Mittler brothers have a 63 and a 36 truck in the race, and if the 63 were to miss it, they might take the driver and team out of that and stick it in the 36, something along that nature.
Right.
But it does happen very often, much more.
Well, I know it used to happen, more. Well, I'm talking back in early 2000, when I was doing it.
Yeah.
I think I'm too old to do it anymore.
Well, it's not prejudiced on how old we are. We just keep doing it until we can't do it anymore.
I don't know if I can throw them 100-pound tires around anymore.
Now, Joey, I hear your name mentioned a lot at the racetrack. The announcers say Spotter Joey Meyer is giving some good information out to his driver. I've heard that a bunch of times.
Well, they must be bored. They must be bored if they're talking about me. It's an honor for those guys to listen in on the radio and think what we're talking about might be important to a lot of the fans. But, they try to give a shout out to a lot of the spotters, I believe, and just trying to utilize the NBC's taking a different approach and trying to get people that normally don't get recognized a little more airtime. So that's pretty cool for those guys.
Yeah, that's where I heard it at, NBC. Mm-hmm. That's and I think they've got a good thing going this year, the NBC. I liked it. It was good.
It was a different approach with Jeff Burton and Steve Letarte and Rick Allen and those guys.
Yeah.
You know, they just brought a fresh perspective to the racing. They got real good ratings there at the end of the season, back in the end of the chase. So it showed promise, and of course Fox will have new broadcasters starting up in 2016, starting out in Daytona. So that'll be nice too.
Joey, what do you think about Chase Elliott in the Gordon car?
That'll be pretty interesting. You know, he's got a good group of guys around him coming off a fairly successful season with Jeff. You know, I think him in the 5 and the 88 and 48, he'll have a lot of support around him. Chase is a young kid and has shown a lot of promise in the Xfinity Series. You know, winning the championship back in 14 and then contending for a second championship in 15, not being able to pull it off there at the last couple of races. But I think it's a promising, the youth in our sport with him and Ryan Blaney and Chris Buescher and just to name a few. But I think Chase has a promising future and starting out with a really good team. I think as long as he keeps his head on his shoulders, which I think his dad will do a real good job of helping him along with that. And those guys will be surrounded with good people, with, you know, good spotter with Eddie DeHunt and his crew chief. I think those guys will do a real good job.
Yeah. Now, Ryan Blaney will be driving the Wood Brothers car next year full time. That's alliance with Penske, right?
Yes, it is. It'll be an alliance just like it was this year. It'll be a similar team, similar crew members in that alignment, except for they're going to run essentially all 38 races, 36-point races, and then the 32 or 2 non-points races. But it'll be definitely an alliance through Penske with cars, chassis, and then getting their engines through Roush Yates.
Yeah. Now, so their cars will be where the 2 and 22 is, I guess, right? Or no?
Well, their shop won't be in the same shop. It'll be actually in a Wood Brothers shop.
Mm-hmm.
I'm unaware of their location, but it'll be in a separate shop. But just like all alliances, the cars and bodies will start out at Team Penske being built and then shipped over to the Wood Brothers to prepare for the upcoming events.
I got you. That's neat how that works. That's something good. That is something good right there. That's something I'd like to see how they do all that. But
yeah, little Blaney, showed promise again in that car in the 21 car with Jeremy Bullins as his crew chief, and running some Xfinity races, and which is what they'll do probably next year as well. He'll run some Xfinity races for Team Penske, and I believe potentially some truck races for BKR if they can find enough funding to get that third truck up and running.
Yeah. There was a question I want to ask. You know, like Penske, for instance, does he get all these cars? They're not. These cars are built, right, Joey? They're not. You don't go to a dealership and buy a bunch of Ford Fusions, right? They're built.
Yes, sir. All the race cars start out in very similar fashion with round stock car tubing, stock steel, and then they're shaped into a manufactured design that's critiqued or limited by NASCAR's rules, and then the teams fabricate a body that has a nose and a tail and a hood that's given to them by the manufacturers, but the sides and all the A posts and B posts, deck lids, things of that nature are manufactured in-house by the team.
Yeah.
Very, very few parts, except for the nose and tail and hood, come stamped or pre-manufactured as they would for a manufactured car.
Yeah.
You know, most of the panels and body panels on the car start out as flat stock steel and then are hand-formed and rolled into the shape that they need to fit the templates. But the only thing that shows up already pre-made is the nose, the tail, and the hood, and I believe possibly the deck lid as well. But for the most part, everything else is fabricated there in shop.
Wow.
But now you could take like a Ford
and make
body off and make a Chevrolet out of it, right?
Yeah, under the body, really the only thing that creates the manufacturer is the body and the engine.
Right.
So if you run a Chevrolet body, you are not allowed to run a Ford, or you don't run a Ford engine.
Right.
So it's the body type as well as the engine manufacturer that dictates your manufacturer alliance. Everybody runs the same rear ends, which is a common design, which is actually a Ford 9-inch common design with floating axles that you'd see on some nicer street cars or hot rods.
Right.
The front chassis is a standard A-frame, upper and lower A-frame. Rear end is truck arms with a panhard bar. That's interchangeable depending on what manufacturer you want to run. Now, you might have different manufacturers of those chassis. You might have a Laughlin chassis, you might have a Levitz chassis, or you might have an in-house chassis. Some of these teams, a lot of these teams are building their entire chassis in-house. So you have an option there, depending on, again, what alliance you want to make or choose, but that's how that works.
You know, I noticed on some of the racetracks, Martinsville, short tracks, they pretty much beef up the front ends of them because they're going to be doing some beating and banging. I think Talladega, don't they beat the front ends of them up, or they don't tear the front end off of it for pushing somebody, correct?
Well, actually, they used to years ago, but now NASCAR's limited the amount of bars you can actually put in the location of the bars, specifically Daytona and Talladega, because they want to try to limit the amount of pushing.
Right.
And actually, the beefing up at Martinsville, you might put a fender brace in here or there, but you don't have a lot of extra bars. Remembering that all those bars weigh, they have weight to them.
Right.
And when you're trying to sling a race car around a corner, you're not building it to run into somebody. You're building that race car to. And if you're adding bars simply for in case you get in a wreck, well, then you're taking away your advantage performance to try to win that race. So a lot of these guys, these cars get beat up pretty easily. And when they get together, especially the Cup car designs, you'll see fenders get knocked in and noses get tore off pretty easily because of that. You're not trying to build a car to sustain a wreck. You're trying to build that race car to perform. And a lot of these cars are only built for one race, and that's to go win a race at Martinsville or, Talladega or Daytona or any race. You're not building them to last 3, 4, 5 races, because then you're giving up an opportunity to win a race by simply creating a race car that's made to last for a longer time. So if you can build a race car and it gets through that one race, you'll actually go home and reskin a large majority of that car because it's flexed enough and moved enough that it would have a hard time getting past templates.
Well, one thing I haven't really understood is you go through pre-tech, I'm going to call it pre-tech, and you got post, you got, after the race. If it makes it through pre and the ride height and everything is fine on it, and NASCAR gets you on through there, and everything's fine, you get out into the race, then when they redo it, well, you're a half inch too low. Then, I guess my question is...
What causes that?
What causes that? I mean, I know you got flex on it, but go ahead.
Well, first of all, what you have in the Sprint Cup cars, they have removed any of the height rules pre and post. So
okay.
The Cup cars that go through pre-race inspection or post-race inspection don't have to meet a required height rule. Now, in the truck and the Xfinity series, they do have a height rule still, but to get maximum performance, you have to get the car traveled down as low as possible.
Okay.
And because the limit on your race car is the car itself. And what I mean by that is when we lower the Cup cars to the lowest height possible, the cars drag the ground. They can't get any lower because the cars hit the ground more. Does that make sense? So that's,
yeah.
That's the limitation. The car itself is the limitation.
Yeah,
so in the Xfinity and the Truck Series, that's also the limit. The car travels as low as it can go, but the truck is what's stopping it. The truck dragging the ground.
Uh-huh.
So you try to set your car or your truck up to get maximum travel so that it will get as low as possible. So it goes through, and I'm just making up numbers, it goes through and it's off the ground, 4 inches off the ground. So that means that car is traveling around the track, it has to travel 4 1/4 inches down before that truck's hitting the ground.
Okay.
Sometimes because you're needing to get the truck or car to travel so low, you have a spring that gives up a little bit. It might start the race out as, and again, a generic number, as a 500-pound spring.
Mm-hmm.
That 500-pound spring is set to where when you go through tech, it's high, it's the same height it's supposed to be, but then during the race, because it's getting beat and banged around, that spring comes out at 475. Well, that 475 spring is no longer capable of keeping the car back at the legal height. Now, getting the truck low wasn't the advantage because, again, like I said earlier, you're already traveling it down to the ground and the truck is hitting the ground. The simple fact that the truck won't pop back up to ride height again is where the issue is in the Xfinity and Truck Series. It was one of the advantages that was gained in the Cup car, and that's why we don't have issues now going through tech after a race with the car having to pop back up and go through height sticks. We're trying to get NASCAR to make those same changes in the Xfinity and Truck Series, and we would alleviate a lot of unnecessary penalties.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Like when Jimmy Johnson got penalized when the right tire changer or right tire carrier bent in his fender or quarter panel with his leg, that was a penalty because if he'd hit the wall and done it, it wouldn't have been a penalty.
Correct. If he'd have hit the wall and came down and had to fix the car like the 2-car actually did,
right?
Then they give you some leeway.
Uh-huh.
When you come down pit road and you knock the side of the car in to give the car a little more side force, they're trying to alleviate some of those modifications that are done on pit road. We saw last year with the side skirts being pulled out,
mm-hmm.
which added a little bit of side force. And now we've realized that if we were able to push in a little bit of the fender or quarter panel in front of the tire, that we can add a little side force there as well. So we're just trying to alleviate some of the manipulations of the bodywork on pit road. And that was one of the things we saw during the race, or NASCAR saw that the 48 had done that by the Jackman taking the opportunity to manipulate that side, the side of the car. But as far as the height rules go, we don't have that issue in the Cup car anymore.
Now, talking about them cars taking a lick earlier, when Matt hit Joey Logano, when Joey went into that wall, it destroyed that car. You could see it as he was trying to get it back to pit road, wobbling all over the place. So when he hit the wall, it messed it up, didn't it, Joey? That car completely.
Yeah, they're just simply not made to hit the wall. Again, I say that 5, 6, 7 years ago, we may have added bars and structurally made these cars sounder to take a little more of a beating. But then we realized that because of the extra weight and devices that were on the car to keep it stronger, we're hurting our performances. And if we build a car for Martinsville and it runs one race and we're able to win that race or compete at a high level, then we've done our job. And even if we have to go rebuild the car, then that's so be it. But yeah, they don't do well when they hit the wall anymore. Even with the so-called soft walls, which aren't really soft, they're just nicknamed soft walls.
Yeah.
But that's about it.
Fast State, I got a question for Joey real fast. Joey, on your job spotting cars, let's say maybe 10 years ago, isn't it a lot harder the drivers can't see out of the cars now. So I think the spotter's job now is really more, I'm trying to say more I can't think of the word to use.
They're the eyes.
Yeah, because back in the day, about 10 years ago, the spotter, of course, is important, but it's more important now than it was 10 years ago, right?
Well, I agree with you on that, but it's actually more important for different reasons. We still gave the same information 10 years ago. Even 15 or 20 years ago, we gave the same basic information. But because the competition is so tight and the crew chiefs are now more busy than ever on top of their toolboxes with the engineers looking at race strategies, the spotter's more aligned or more involved with the actual race other than just clearing the drivers. So we're not just a safety device anymore, which we were 10, 15, 20 years ago. We're now part of trying to increase the performance of the team, whether it's strategies, talking, on the second radio with the crew chiefs, or giving the drivers lap times and who's doing what lines and things of that nature. So the spotters are definitely communicating more than they were 10 or 15 years ago, even 3 or 4 years ago now with the advent of the fan view and now the fan vision, which is what the fans are using in the stands, and it's the exact same device that we use on the roof. But we're definitely communicating more from the roof to our drivers, but a lot goes on behind the scenes that the drivers don't hear, and that's the communication going on from the spotter to the crew chief, which you didn't really have 10 years ago. So all that communication is added as well.
You guys can be the difference between a car winning and losing, right?
Oh, yeah.
Well, I've always said that I felt that the spotter couldn't take a losing car and make it a winning car, but we could take a winning car and allow it not to win. And it's a little bit like a punter and a kicker. All they can do is kick field goals. All your pilot can do is take off and land correctly. He can't do a better job than great. And that's what spotters do. I don't think we can do a better job of what we're supposed to be doing to begin with, but we can sure make mistakes.
Why don't you fly here into Cleveland and take me and Fast Eddie and Big G a ride? We got a jet airport here now.
As long as we can alleviate our mistakes, then I think the job that most spotters are doing can utilize a winning car, and they won't hinder that performance at all.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, you gave a lot of information in that, Joey. That's good.
Joey, it's been great to have you on here.
No, good questions. Good questions. We can talk all night long.
And I want to get you back again. Sometimes it's hard for me to get you, but I know you're busy too, though. And
I apologize for that. The best way to do it is when we start making plans in the future, just to give me a call like you did tonight, and I'll sit here and talk your ear off.
Yeah, in other words, you calling me, I'd rather me call you. I've got your number, and I can call that number, and boom, we can get on.
That's it. Exactly right. I appreciate the call, guys.
And you're always great, Joey.
Yes.
I tell you another spotter that I like that's real good, just like you. You both are real good, and that's Derek Nealing.
Yeah, Derek. He spots over on the 42 car. I know him very well.
Yeah, he's a super nice fella, too.
Yep.
He's one of them.
We're good acquaintances with the roof.
Yeah, and I wished I could get more spotters on here, but I'm having a problem. I thought one time that I had Earnhardt Juniors, but it's never happened yet.
Well, you just need to beat him up on Twitter. Is the only thing I can tell you. Just get on Twitter and wear him out.
Yeah, that's how you do it. You got to get on. A lot of this you got to go to Twitter. I know it's not easy, but you got to do it.
Well, without Twitter, a lot of the fans wouldn't have direct communication with their favorite drivers or crew chiefs or even spotters. So
that's right.
It really works out to give them an opportunity to communicate with them.
I hate it since NASCAR stopped Joey from tweeting while he's driving.
Well, yeah, they don't have his phone anymore. He don't have his phone anymore.
I know that's. I thought, well, they stopped him from tweeting.
Did they stop that?
Well, they don't allow you to carry your phone in the car anymore.
Yeah, they take it away from you, slap you on the hand.
Wow,
we ain't allowed to tweet while we're driving our passenger car.
Yeah.
Well, Joey, we'll talk to you later and try to get you back on here sometime.
Well, I appreciate it. Have a great. Hope your Thanksgiving was good, and you guys have a good holiday and a great New Year.
All right, Joey. You too, buddy.
You too,
Thank
Joey.
you.
See you later.
Mm-hmm.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
That's Joey Meyer, the spotter of number 2 car.
Yeah, let me go over this one more time here, Fast Eddie, for Bill. Bill Norwood. Bill Norwood.
Fine man, too.
Yeah, that's Daniel Norwood of SiriusXM's grandpa. And December the 7th at 11 a.m., Pearl Harbor Remembrance at the VFW on Ocoee Street.
Yeah.
So everybody can go out on December the 7th.
Yeah, I'm going to go.
And Bullet, go over there, and Bullet, he's going to talk it up. Remember now, Bullet, it's December the 7th.
Well, Bullet does that cemetery and stuff. He's got a lot on him.
11 a.m. Bullet, go up there, won't you, Bullet?
Sure.
That's Pearl Harbor Remembrance.
What time is it?
It's at 11 o'clock, Bullet.
Okay.
And then it's at the VFW on Ocoee Street.
I can get it. So, I would pay, but I don't like to get in there. But actually, maybe I don't remember right now. Also, too, we should have hopefully we'll have a Norwood show. Bill and Daniel should be here on December the 15th at 7 o'clock. So we probably won't have, maybe we can just get them in here, and, people want to call and ask questions. That might be the kind of show we have. Those are two good guys.
Great guys. You can't ask for no better guys.
And Bill was captured.
He was he sure was. Prisoner of war. And he's got pictures, too, where he was captured. And I tell you that I went over and talked to Bill. If you ever get a chance, Fast Eddie and Bullet, you need to get over at his house and talk to him. And he'll sit there and show you pictures of him when he was in war, when he was captured.
I like to see that.
And
he's locked up again.
Piece of junk.
Yeah, I like to see that.
So